Mr. Walton, did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden. As a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm the void walker.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting from New York, upstate near the Great Lakes, it's Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Roop, and we are live on the Fringe FM, KTLK digital broadcasting. Thank God it's almost Friday, right? The Fringe.fm, or actually Fringe.fm, that's the website if you want to visit the network website, and our website is lightingthevoid.com. You know, make sure you go there and support if you can. Sign up to the Patreon, make a donation, grab some swag, and be patient with the swag, folks. I'm gonna have to put a big sign on the store that says "Be patient." I don't have a Lighting the Void warehouse in the back or anything like that. I have it's all made to order kind of stuff, a little secret sauce, but it does kind of annoy people when they're waiting on their shipments. But it's well worth it. Also got the Mighty Rohan here with us again tonight. It's my partner in crime at the moment. What's up, Rohan?
What's up, bro? How you doing? You all good?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I had one of those weird emotional episodes today where it was raining. I was riding down I started feeling weird. Like I haven't had anxiety in a long time, you know, and I'm about to make another move in my life where I'm going to go to another place that I don't really know anybody or anything like that. You know, I can't really say too much about it, but it's for the best though in the long term also for my life, but it's also, I think it needs to happen regardless, right? It wasn't exactly, and see, this is the thing about void walking. What did somebody say the other day? They were void walking something. I forget what they called them, where you just kind of go where spirit takes you, right?
Yeah.
So I initially had plans to go to Florida from here, and I still want to end up in Florida. That's my overall goal. But first, I might have to take a pit stop somewhere else, unfortunately. But it could be fortunately.
Exactly.
See? You never know. So, anyways, before we get rambling on, tonight our guest is supposed to be with us, Nathan Isaac from the Penny Royal podcast. It was supposed to make an appearance. I hope so. I really dig the guy's podcast. Hope he shows up because he's got some pretty cool stories. But the craziest thing happened to me in upstate New York today, man, that hasn't happened since I've been here. I mean, it just threw me for a loop because I get a lot of, I get a lot of feedback from people about masks, especially here lately. When I got here, dude, nobody said anything to me about masks, man. Like nobody would approach me. Nobody would bother me about it, anything like that. Mm-hmm. Well, today I went with my neighbor. We went to the sporting goods store because he wanted to get some stuff for turkey hunting. And the camo up here is ridiculous, by the way. If you're from the South, let me tell you, it sucks up here. The freaking shells, like a pack of shotgun shells, were almost like $31 just for 5 shells. That you can't buy a semi-automatic weapon up here. They don't exist. And I can just complain all day long about that. But so we went to Dick's Sporting Goods and hit golf balls, and I had a good time doing that. Also watching my neighbor just spiff some golf balls, but at least he attempted it. Brave man. And then, he's like, well, I want to stop at this place and get some pizza that I really like. And I was like, cool. So I go over there and I walk in. As soon as I walk in, they do that thing, the little flip underneath the lip thing. Like, where's your mask? Where's your mask? And I was like, I said, I don't wear masks. And she's like, why? I said, because I'm an American. That's why,
Oh, that's a sweet answer.
I was like, that's why, right? And I said, can I still get some pizza? And she's like, well, what about your mask? I was like, I don't want to wear it. So you're not going to give me some pizza or what? Right? And she's like, well, I don't know. She just kept on the mask thing. I said, you know what? I can tell you're not going to let this go. I could have got like 4 slices of pizza right now, by the way. So anyways, I leave out of there and it's pouring down rain. And I have this like weird, I've been having these weird fluttery type little spurts of anxiety. And I think it's just probably loneliness, right? That's what I think. Isolation and loneliness, and it's raining, and I got like REM playing in my head, everybody hurts, right? And I'm just like tearing up a little bit. And my buddy's next to me. He's this big, rough, redneck kind of guy, like me. I don't think he's as emotional as me, though, but he is a Scorpio. And so he starts playing like sad songs and stuff, and then I really started like kind of getting emotional. I'm like, where the hell is all this stuff coming from? And so I had a weird, like, emotional kind of thing today. Realized I'm an emotional dude. I just got to learn how to target it better, And I go into the dollar store. I'm like, you know what I'm going to do, man? I'm going to like cook a sirloin, bake a potato, and eat a salad, and maybe watch a little TV. Just take a break from all this for 30 minutes. And that made just that thought, just that positive thought alone, dude, it made everything so much better. And as soon as I walked into the dollar store, a dude walked by and he wasn't wearing a mask. He's a bigger dude, like a big bald dude. And he looked at me and said, hey man, I want to thank you for not wearing a mask. And I was like, you genuinely mean that from your heart? And he's like, yes, I do. And I was like, well, thank you, brother. That's the first time. I've never had anybody in New York say that to me since I've been up here.
Yeah. That is really, that's profound, something really profound, that, isn't it? There's like a lesson there and then a reward at the end of it, Yeah,
I mean, that's really brightened.
Yeah.
It brightened my whole night just having some dude reach out and say thank you for being you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just being straight up. Yeah.
Actually, he was saying thank you for not wearing a mask. He wasn't really saying thank you for being you, but he was, it felt that way to me,
Well, it's in a sense, it kind of, I'm sort of seeing it in a way you could say that, because you said I'm an American. Do you know what I mean? And you're an American, aren't you? Yeah. And that's what Americans do, don't they?
Yeah, if they don't quit, I'm going to end up being a Fijian. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of stuff, man, just kind of depressed me today. And I thought, why is all this stuff, the rain, the fact that you can't buy a semi-automatic weapon up here, the guns suck, the camo's expensive. Like, why am I rolling all these negative thoughts? I mean, this isn't my problem. This is New York's problem.
It's almost like you get these little things where you stack up these worries, don't you? And then they collapse in on you. And then one little perspective change is what gets you out of it. And you get then, and it's one of them little pearls of wisdom that you get in life, innit? Where it's like that perspective change in that scenario showed you that it can really change the way that you feel, which is like a really big lesson for life, man. Your perspective is what you see, is what you experience, man. You know? So
I got, because I'm one, I guess you could say, sensitive, emotionally, you know, everybody calls himself an empath. I don't know if I'm an empath or not. I just know that I have deep, intense feelings, right? So knowing that, I'm learning more about myself, which is cool, I think, that I need to, like, deflect negative stuff. I know that sounds simple, but negative thoughts, anything, you know, and it's not that easy all the time, because you get bombarded with a bunch of crap that has nothing to do with it.
It's like going to the gym. Yeah, it's like going to the gym. You know, it's like you have to work at this stuff. I suppose it's like, you know, anything that's worth having, it's worth working for, isn't it?
That's right.
I used to say, you've got to put the work in, because, you know, that's where the value is. You've got to climb that mountain, haven't you, to get the exhilaration of having done the achievement. You know.
Chuck Deluxe is like, you learning, but it's not terrible out here. Nah, brother, I'm not saying it's terrible. You know, I love you. It's just like, I couldn't believe the prices of this stuff, man. And the fact that they didn't have any duck calls here. I couldn't even call a duck. That used to be my favorite thing to do, is get down on some duck calls. They don't have that here. I don't know. You know what I think it was, bro? I think I got homesick or something for a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah. You get the like. Do you ever find those little nostalgia moments? It was one of those little nostalgia moments, and it really feels like you've been transported back in some way.
Yeah.
And you get it caught in the memory, don't you? You know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened, and I've been trying to get back into my spiritual side again. Like, I've really let a lot of stuff that it's hard to explain. I'm so thankful that I got to come out here, and I've grown in a way, and in other ways I have still a lot of things I have to grow with, you know. But I really don't think I would have known some of these things if I wouldn't have taken this journey, though.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Like, if I'd have just stayed in the shack and not went out and had this experience, I really think I wouldn't have opened up things inside of me that needed to be taken care of. Still need to be taken care of, in a way. You know?
Yeah, that's it. With the beauty of hindsight, you can go and back engineer it, can't you, through your series of unfortunate events, and see exactly why they worked, can't you?
Well, and not everything was unfortunate, man. Like, I had some really cool times out here, and, you know, got to take a vacation while I was here, and man, I will always have, like, really good memories in this place. You know?
Yeah. It's like that trip to Holland thing. Remember, I don't know if you remember mentioning that, when there's that poem about, you know, you're getting ready to go to Italy, but you end up getting the wrong plane to Holland. And at first you're disappointed because everything's screwed now, but then you learn you never would have gone to Holland. You didn't, because you never planned to go. Sometimes you need those little crazy islands. They walk off the beaten path a little bit. And sometimes you find, you know, the little side restaurant that all the locals go to. Yeah.
You know, the tarot reader, what's his name? Gregory Scott, that I used to post in the tarot chat. Isn't that his name? Like, he just moved to, you would think that guy, as spiritually sound as he is and as many followers as he has or whatever, that he's got everything all together. But just because you got a big community online or whatever, doesn't mean the dude had to move, and he moved to Vienna, and he just poured his heart out in his last video. He's like, I was looking for a partner when I went to this place. I thought I had friends, and, you know, they turned out not to be my friends. So, you know, I'm lonely. Like, he wasn't afraid to say what he was feeling, man. You know, I was inspired by it. I was like, damn, man, I wish I could do that. Like, why don't I do that more? You know?
Oh, it's funny. I didn't know that, but I did watch a video a few days ago of him saying, "Oh, I'm just traveling in Europe at the minute because he's doing one outdoors." And then there was another one outdoors, and I thought, "Oh, how come he's outdoors again?" And then, it's the thing is as well. I think perhaps people don't realize you just talk like me now. I'm just sat in my living room talking into a mic. I can't see who's listening,
right?
And so you're just a person. I'm just having a chat with Joe, really, for me, because that's what I'm experiencing. You see what I'm saying? I can see a bit of discord.
But
so I'm with those people. But you know what I mean? We're just people. We're just people, Joe.
Yeah,
we're the same.
that's my point. Like this dude, I used to watch his, and he had all these synchronistic tarot readings, like constantly, you know. And even I got a high idea of the guy, and I still have a high idea of the guy. But what I'm saying is it was cool, you know, to see how normal he was.
To see the real,
you know,
the real.
And dude, the fact that he expressed his vulnerability and his emotions about things, like he didn't have like a dramatic moment, but he was like, man, I'm lonely. I need a partner in life. I have to start over. I'm going to this place. I don't even know where I'm going to live yet. But thanks to you guys and the channel, like I found a flat, you know, I can do what I want to do. I hope I find a partner this time. Right. Like he wasn't afraid to say what he was feeling, dude. It was super inspiring to me.
Yeah, that's it. He's not putting himself on a pedestal. I love that as well. He's so sort of like neutral as well. He's always happy. He's so happy and upbeat with everything. And even really, when he talks about he's
really just normal though, right?
Yeah. It's just normal. That's what I like it, normal.
Vulnerability is a good thing. A drama is not really a good thing unless unless, you know, it's intense. Sometimes that happens, but we're all just people, right? That's the cool part about it. It made me feel good watching his video too. You guys should go check it out, man. Because he's pretty much doing what I'm about to have to do. And it's not like, it's kind of scary to go to a new place and you don't know anybody, hardly nobody, right? And it's like you have to start over in a lot of ways, which thank God I have you guys and some other really close people in my life, or it'd be even scarier. But I think it's something that you should do. You should, especially if you got a goal in mind, you're going for something, you should take those risks or face that fear, you know.
You got to, because it's like so many people, you hear about these stories about people on the deathbed. The things they regret aren't the things they did. It's the things they didn't do every time.
Yeah.
You know, I think
I was thinking about that too. Like I keep having these thoughts about my mortality. Like, you know, the other day I told you I ate a half a pot cookie.
Yeah.
Like when my heart started palpitating a little bit, I thought about that. I was like, man, if I die, who's really going to care? You know? And it's a bad thing to think about, but it's kind of true. Like, who really does care about you for real? For real, you know? Like, I know there's a ton of listeners to the show, but most of them honestly are probably going to say, man, that was a cool show. I'm going to miss that guy. I loved listening to the show or whatever. But there's only like a few close friends that I have. You understand what I'm saying? And family. And then when you think about your mortality, it doesn't even matter with the friends and family thing either. They're just the people that's going to be kind of close to you if you're lucky while you pass away, if you're extremely lucky, but you're always going to pass away alone no matter what. And I was thinking, what the hell am I thinking about this for, man? Like, why?
It's like on Terminator. You remember on Terminator, the original, and the kid puts ice cream in Sarah Connor's pocket when she's working as a waitress. And a friend says, in 100 years, who's going to care? And it's one of them. Once, you know, in 200 years' time, which is no time at all, is it? It's like those worries that you think is the end of the world. It's like they're completely gone from the immediate. You know, it's just mad, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah, dude. I don't know why I started thinking about my mortality. But when I was younger, in my 20s, I would have panic attacks so bad that I wouldn't leave the house. Like, and then I just started facing my fears. That's why everybody thinks, oh man, you know, you're going for it. You face your fears and do it. It's not hard for me because of the anxiety thing that I went through. Like, if you can go through that, the craziest, what do they call it? Agoraphoria or something like that.
Agoraphobia,
yeah. Dude, that's what I had. And I had it for a couple of years. And I literally was having to face my fears and drive down the road and breathe in a bag and all kinds of stuff, you know. Well, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But if you get past that, it makes the rest of your life pretty much easier. You do what you want. You face your fears. You say what you want. But then you get to this point where you're like, whoa, that pendulum's swinging a little hard too. I got to kind of staple my life a little bit. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do too, as I still do the same thing. That makes sense.
It does as well, and I think it's I don't know, it's like maturation state. I mean, there's processes we go through as well, and sometimes we have to kind of take a step back, don't we, and keep the world at a bit of a distance. But then at the same time, I think there are maturation stages for human beings just in general, like that, like the life begins at 40 thing. I think there really is some kind of I don't know. It's just the amount of time you've had or whatever. It's just there's just these poignant times in there. They're almost like islands of stability on the periodic table as you alchemize. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. And that Tom Barnett guy kind of put it into perspective too, made me feel good about it, right? I know I'm talking about me a lot. I'm so sorry, man. But
it's your show, you know.
But I'm just saying, like, he was like, because I was telling him, what was I saying to him about all the regrets that I had and stuff? He's like, yeah, but listen, man, because you didn't go to college and because you didn't do what society thought and you got the white picket fence and all this other stuff, like, you learned a whole lot about yourself, you know, because you didn't conform to society. And I was like, yeah, dude, I did, really. But that's not saying that people that go to college and do the societal thing don't learn about themselves. Of course they do. But they also, like, they don't get the same experience in that sense, I think, you know.
I think because I think you get more of a variety, don't you? So you get like more different types of shocks. So then you get a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? You've got a bigger palette. I think you're a bit more expensive.
Well, you know, it's easy to say too. Like, well, I went to the school of hard knocks, right? And they try to make yourself look cool.
Yeah, but that's not enough, though, is it?
Yeah, but
going to the school of hard knocks, you got to do something. You got to do the work yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, you could say, well, no, actually, what you did was you didn't go to college, you didn't do anything, you worked some dead end jobs, and you partied too much. No, I went to the school of hard knocks. No, you just, let's be real about it.
Yeah, there's a difference between being a layabout and being someone that's come through a rough, tough situation in life and made something of themselves, be it through consciousness endeavors, learning a skill, an instrument, getting a high-flying job. Do you know what I mean? It's about how much effort you put into life, whatever cards you've got dealt in it. That's what it is.
Yeah, because I'll be honest with you, as much as I was out there learning a lot about myself spiritually and going through a lot of stuff, I was still thinking, damn, I wish I would have listened to Dad. I wish I would have got those grades or whatever, you know.
Oh, every time, every bloke sort of my age, or maybe like in his 30s and 40s, ever said to me at a job, "Get you sent a trade, lad. Get you sent a trade." When I was a teen, get you sent a trade job. You've always got that, and I never ever saw the value, never saw past it. Yeah, get a trade job. It's a skill for life. Yeah.
It's I guess what I'm saying is because I'm just rambling tonight for some reason.
You can't be told when you're young, Joe.
You know. Yeah, right. Like doing what you want to do and going after what you want all the time, being led by your desire is a good thing. However, if you're not balancing that out with thinking about where am I going to be in 5 years, where am I going to be in 10 years, or like if you have kids, like what are they going to have in the future and things like that, you can be a little reckless, you know. I think I've been a little reckless in my life, honestly. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I'm not ashamed of it, really. I'm ready to be a little reckless, but also a little bit more older, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I say it for me. I can totally resonate with you. I say it for me is I want to be a little bit more structured, a little bit more organized, because I've been reckless in terms of not really worrying about what I'd be interested in and what I tell people about. So I've been sort of, you know what I mean? I was just smoked weed and stuff and gone raving and that. But, you know what I mean as well. But
pot cookies, right?
Yeah.
If Corbin's listening, he's probably making fun of me. But dude, I'm telling you,
we've got to do our processes, man. We have to do what we have to do, what we think is. I mean, everybody tries. I think generally, everybody's trying the best to just muddle the way through, aren't they? You know?
Yeah. We're all trying to figure stuff out, man. We're just people. I think the two biggest things there's a few things that made my day today, but, you know, watching that Gregory Stott video of him just showing his vulnerability and how he's just a normal dude, right? That made me feel good. And that guy at the dollar store is like, hey, man, they just threw me off. He was like, thanks for not wearing a mask. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, isn't this sweet? Yeah. Speaking of which, we got to take our break, but Nathan Isaac's going to be coming on. He was on the Higher Side Chats really interesting guy with some really interesting stories. We're not talking about the normal type paranormal stories here. Some really deep stuff from the Penny Royal podcast. He'll be coming on. We might get into the story of Pulaski County, Kentucky, but he's the host of the Penny Royal broadcast, The Magic and Mystery of Place. And yeah, it's going to be cool, man. So you guys stick around. More Lighting the Void coming up live right here on the Fringe FM. Stay with us. Mighty Rohan.
Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The truth is out there, and so are we. KTLK, Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Want to support Lighting the Void? Just go to lightingthevoid.com, sign up on our membership page, and pick your package where you can get exclusive content, readings, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Also, check out the LTV shop where you can get your very own altar box, t-shirt, shack, hoodie with sigil, Roswell-style t-shirt, racerback tees, socks, long-sleeve shirts, stickers, and beanies. Keep Lighting the Void airing 5 nights a week by going to lightingthevoid.com and support today.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
Lighting the Void and the Esoteric Scholar present the Altar Box, crafted and designed for magicians by magicians. Now you can take your practice with you. This beautifully handcrafted mobile altar opens and works as an altar for any of your spiritual, religious, or ritual practices. Made to travel and work in small spaces, the Altar Box comes with hidden compartments for your practice tools and accessories. The Altar Box also comes with a dark scrying mirror for scrying and reverses and fits perfectly also as a chalkboard for any sigil, symbol, or whatever you see fit to sketch. The Altar Box is handcrafted to carry as a small suitcase, so you may take your practice with you, and the hinges are made with solid material and hinged with leather and rivets for extra strength. The mirror piece and floor plate fit perfectly when closed, so no movement will happen. Use it in small places as well. You can practice meditation, magic, planetary magic, sigil magic, scrying, ritual. Never be without your practice tools again, no matter the setting or where you go. And this season, give the gift of magic for yourself or your loved one by grabbing your Altar Box. Was $249.99, now $199.99. The sale ends January 1st, 2021. Just go to lightingthevoid.com/altarbox and get yours while the sale lasts.
I don't know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life.
to lighting the void. You think I should change that Ultrabox commercial? I mean, since it's still talking about the January sale price, it's actually $249.99. Make sure you go check it out. It's at the regular price. Hey, I want to thank all of you too for joining the chat room, especially the new folks. We're going to get a lot of new folks in the chat room. Boomer and a couple other people jumped in. If you want to join, you can go to fringe.fm/chat room. He said, slaying them demons for sure. I never put the mask on, and your show armed me with a lot of extra knowledge that I used to make my employer give me my job back. Really, that's cool. Now they respect me for standing up, and your radio show helped give me the best feeling of my life, which happened when I stood up and took a couple of weeks off, and they called me back. And that's when I surprised the hell out of my boss. I made it known. Much love. Namaste. Thank you for being a true human. He says he effing loves me. I love you too, brother. He said, if I die and when I dream, I know I'll be seeing all of you. When I talk about the truth, lighting the void and the fringe is the first thing I think of. Genuine, raw, real family. You just feel it. Oh, man. Dude, that was pretty moving. Thanks for saying that. And all of you new people that jumped in the chat too. All right, so we got our guest here with us, and this is going to be a really cool show. I can tell already. Nathan Isaac's here with us, and he began working on the Penny Royal project after neighbors were telling him rumors about some of the unsolved murders and disappearances in the area, which had an eerie similarity to a series of murders that occurred in San Bernardino in 1914, which are detailed in the book The Empire of the Wheel by Walter Bosley and Richard Spence. And those murders involved a cult, and he kept hearing more and more stories about cults and strange religious groups around where he lives in Kentucky. And from there, it was just a rabbit hole in the local folklore about UFOs, dogmen, lake monsters, and unexplainable phenomena like rains of meat and frogs. Ooh. So Nathan has always been a fan of Fortean phenomena and the weird happenings that question the nature of reality itself. And he describes the Penny Royal as chasing those kinds of questions down the respective rabbit hole to see how deep they go. And I just got through listening to a show on the Higher Side Chats. And thanks for coming on, brother. It's good to have you, Nathan.
Oh, man. Thanks for having me on the show tonight, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's good to talk to a Southern guy, too. I was telling him the story about how I got pulled over in Kentucky. It was the only state I got pulled over in on my trip here. But it's a beautiful state, man. Apparently there is some weird stuff going on in Pulaski County, man. Would you tell us about
it? Yeah, so yeah, man, Kentucky's a pretty interesting place. Pulaski County particularly so. But yeah, I started researching the whole Penny Royal mystery when I moved. Well, I moved down here in probably 2000. I think it was 2011. I lived in central Kentucky in Lexington, which is a pretty big town. The UK Wildcats and such. And, but I moved down to Somerset. This is where my wife's from. And, I'm originally from a small town. I'm from eastern Kentucky, Goffin County, right in the Appalachian Mountains. And I never really thought I'd go back to a small town, especially once I lived in Lexington. And interestingly enough, I went to college in Lexington at Transylvania University.
Wow, that's cool.
Right. Well, all of Kentucky was called Transylvania at one point. The Transylvania Land Company actually owned this before it was divided up into a state. So it was called Transylvania. It just means through the woods, So, but yeah. So
dude, I did not know any of that. So Transylvania itself means through the woods. That's what the word means.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it means. But yeah, the entire area of Kentucky that I'm in, that that everybody's used to, is used to be called Transylvania. I think it was the Transylvania Purchase or something like that. But
I didn't know that either. That's pretty rad.
Yeah. And so, and sidebar, Transylvania University is the only university that has a piece of the Kentucky meat shower. And so, all
right, hold on, man. Okay, so look, I'm into the out of body stuff and magic and a lot of. I'm a Fortean. I love Fortean stuff. I've read about it, but I don't know all the stories. Dude, you got to tell me about the meat shower. Like seriously,
yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah, God, I can't remember the year off the top of my head, but I think it was like it's late 1800s. It was Olympia Springs, Kentucky. It's a little bit northeast of here, and this couple, were out in their backyard, and it was a no clouds, blue sky day, and all of a sudden these chunks of meat started to fall out of the sky. Yeah. So then, and some of them were small pieces, but some were as big as, I think it's say like a quarter or something like that. And, but it rains for a little while, for a few minutes. So the ground's covered, and some of the neighbors come by. That's probably the funniest thing, is that one of the neighbors actually picks up a piece of the meat and tastes it. Right. So,
yeah.
So they describe it as being, tasting like mutton, like sheep or lamb, and so they tried to preserve some of this. A lot of it spoiled, but a piece of it was actually preserved and left in the special collections at Transylvania University. Which, at the time I was in school there, I didn't know this. I knew the story of the meat shower, but I didn't know that that's where where one of the samples was, because I would have definitely, loved to have actually seen it.
All right. So I think I heard about this before. Okay. Rohan, you got any questions, man? I know you're entertaining the chat room, but you got any questions before we talk about this Pulaski County stuff here?
No, you go in there now. I can't believe the meat shower. I never even heard of that. I was just looking it up just now. That's crazy, man.
I just got through eating a steak too, so it's kind of making me feel weird thinking about it. But all right. So tell us a little bit more. Pulaski County, Kentucky, is this like the source of most of the paranormal activity in Kentucky? Is like a massive place for it? Or is this just kind of like where you grew up? Oh man, did I lose him? Did I lose everybody?
I'm still here, bro.
Okay. I think we lost him. That sucks, man.
It just went as well. I didn't have any interference or anything.
No, I can't hear him though. Can you hear him?
No.
Nathan, you there, brother?
I'm here, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
It just cut you. You just cut out for a little bit. It got spooky there for a minute, man.
I couldn't hear Rohan saying his question. So
I
was like, you can hear me now though.
Yeah. That's live radio though, so it's cool. So, so what was one of the first, but like big things that you started investigating though? Surely it wasn't the meat shower, right?
Yeah. So anyway, so the meat shower happened, but the reason I even got into the whole meat shower thing was that here in Pulaski County, you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah,
okay.
You're good.
Okay, good. So Dan Dutton, who we talk about in, he's throughout the first season of the show. He's a really famous artist that lives here in Pulaski County, born and raised here. And I had been talking to him about some of the weird stuff here in Pulaski County. I brought up the meat shower, and he tells me, he says, because his family's been here for 200 years or something, 150 years.
Right.
He says that there were stories of meat showers and showers of frogs and other things on Highway 39, and that's this one specific area of the county where all kinds of weird, strange stuff happens, right? And there's tons of other stories too, but I thought that was a weird correlation, between the whole Kentucky meat shower and then that there were reports here in Pulaski County of the same sort of thing. So
we have
so anyway, but
I just had weird deja vu, by the way. So yeah. I don't know why, like I'm having deja vu. You're talking about meat showers in Pulaski County. I don't know why, but maybe there was because we have a Pulaski County in Arkansas too, and maybe somebody told me about a meat shower. I don't know, but it was heavy deja vu just then. That's
interesting, man. What's weird too is that Casimir Pulaski is the county is named after this Revolutionary War general, and so there's tons of different places in the U.S. called Pulaski, but the funny thing about that too is they found out that he was transgender. I think 3 years ago, and it caused a huge uproar in the history circles because of that. But they dug his body up, and yeah, I thought that was an interesting kind of thing too, you know. But yeah, so Pulaski County, there's all kinds of weird stories associated with places called Pulaski, kind of like the you know, the Fayette factor, the Lafayette, anything that's named after Fayette and General Lafayette has weirdness associated with it. Have you guys ever heard that before?
No, but I know like Lafayette. I know where there's a couple of Lafayette places too. So
yeah.
And to come to think about it, there is some weird stuff that happens in Louisiana. There's a place that's like, there's a few haunted places out there in Lafayette too. Right. So this is kind of this is interesting. So you're deep into the 4T and stuff, I can tell. This is where all the cool stories are, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, man, I'm totally, and you know, I love to collect. You know, a big part of the project was collecting folklore, you know, and collecting stories, and that's something I've always done, is collect stories. But the Fortean phenomena, yeah, I mean, you know, Charles Fort, and there's so many just crazy stories.
But there really is a lot of really weird, strange stuff that happens. Like, I mean, yesterday, by the way, I'm going to like really, y'all are going to be so disappointed. But that video I talked about yesterday when the guy was cracking eggs, that was a hoax for sure. Right. I believed it, but it was a hoax. And I could tell by the first two eggs, this is kind of off topic, but the first two eggs, you could tell something was being dropped into the cup. So they kind of admitted it was a hoax later, but it had everybody in an uproar. So sometimes when strange things happen, it can fool even the smartest of people, right? You know, but how could you explain things like meat showers, frog showers, or even in Arkansas when we had all those, I don't know if you remember this, Nathan, but remember when we had all those birds that died? It made national news, just flocks of birds that were falling out of the sky, you know?
There were a lot of weird things associated with that. Of course, people think that they're flying into UFOs, you know?
Yeah, right. Must have been demons or UFOs, one of the two, you know?
Yeah. You know, with the Kentucky meat shower thing, the most preposterous, well, I'll tell you two little things about that real quick. The most preposterous thing is that the accepted theory is that it's vulture vomit, right? That a group of vultures ate something, and then they do throw up, they vomit in flight, right? And the accepted theory is that a large number of them did it all at one time, which is, you know, preposterous. But
I hope you guys are gonna have some really good dreams tonight, right?
Right. But there's a guy that wrote a book. Man, I cannot think of it off the top of my head right now. If I can remember it, I'll post it later or something. But he wrote a book about these sky creatures that he said were amoebas, like amoeba-like creatures that lived in the upper atmosphere, and that the star jelly, the falls of they call it angel hair, you know, or star jelly. That's actually these things dying and disintegrating in the atmosphere, right?
Well, man, listen, that could be a true thing. You know, Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers, all he does is watch the skies, right? Like, he's one of the best at, you know, in my opinion, the best at UFO sky watching and stuff. And the one video he has that it's clearly a UFO. It's some type of sky amoeba that just comes in and out really quick, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to check that video out, man. Well, see, that's another thing too. Yeah, when I started digging into like the UFO reports here, there's a place called Alien Grave Mountain, which I think is hilarious. That a guy, he claims that in 1963 there was a UFO crash here that the government covered up, and he actually takes UFO tours on his mountain that he's got in a limo, so you can like ride in his limo, and he drives you around to these different spots.
That's cool.
And he says, yeah, that there's an alien crash, which I was like, well, this is weird. You know, it was one of those things. You know, when I started looking at the town, I was we moved down here, like I said, and I was really like, I don't want to move back to a small town. And so, I wanted to know. I was already obviously researching lots of Fortean phenomena and collecting stories. So I thought, well, let's see if there's anything interesting about this town. And then it was just like, oh my God, there's so much. But one of the stories, which is one of my favorite stories, was reported to MUFON. And this was, was this 2006 or something? It wasn't too long ago. It was in the last, I think, 20 years. There was a sighting of a flying manta ray, and it's actually and it's near where this alien grave mountain is. It's like 2 miles outside of Somerset. It's another, like a small town that butts up to Somerset called Burnside. That they moved when they flooded the lake. Like Somerset's located on the shores of Lake Cumberland, it used to be the largest man-made lake east of the Mississippi, right? And how when the Army Corps of Engineers would build these lakes, they would flood all these towns, and people would have to move. It would flood the graveyards, all that stuff, right? And so they flooded this. So there's this really old town called Burnside, and it had to be moved to higher ground. They flooded the lake too, and there are all kinds of cemeteries that weren't moved. And so, and there's even an island in the lake called Cemetery Island where they did move the bodies. And when the water goes down low, you can see the graves, the empty graves. It's a really crazy place. So near Burnside, there was this sighting of this gigantic undulating amoeba. Or not amoeba, but a stingray, that they saw.
Well, a stingray could kind of look like an amoeba too, though. But
yeah. Well, what made me say amoeba is that they could see the stars through it. So it was
I got you.
Translucent,
right?
But the first time I ever heard of one of these flying stingrays was an interview with one of the Coast to Coast AM guys, and he was at the ranch up in is it Oregon, the ECETI Ranch?
ECETI Ranch, yeah. That's in Oregon.
James Gilland is the guy, and they let people come on the ranch, and he guarantees, because he has those the Starlight night vision goggles that you can only buy them it's illegal to buy them in the US, but they're available in China. It's like a particular class of them, and if you look at the sky, you'll see all of these things you can't see with your naked eye. And I remember the host said that everyone else went one direction, he went the other direction by himself and witnessed this crazy undulating flying stingray above him, and started to think that it could be some type of biological alien ship. So anyway, I think that's a weird correlation. That was the only other at that time, that was the only thing that I've ever read of like that until I found the sighting here in Somerset. But there's so many UFO sightings here, and lots of strange ones, abductions. We're just 20 minutes away from the famous Stanford abductions. You have the 3 women in the 1970s.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, on your podcast, because I only got to hear a couple of shows of it, and don't take anything wrong by that. I don't ever get to listen to podcasts the way I used to, running the station and doing what I do. Like, I got to take some time to do that because there's so many good ones. But yours is good. You have one of those really good storytelling voices too, man, like that I can really appreciate. So, but you also don't mind going out and investigating stuff on your podcast either, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks.
Yeah, because everybody, it's real easy to, and I can tell you that it's easy once you're all set up and you get it going to sit and talk, right? Like behind the scenes, but to do remote, I mean, at your studio, but to do remotes and take the audience out and kind of do stuff like that too is kind of fun,
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely doing it with a podcast, it was interesting, and and really interview. You know, I interviewed so many people, man. I have hundreds of hours of interviews with people. You know, we just couldn't put all that in the show. And some of the stuff's going to be in the second season that's coming out in September. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting just to really dig into this stuff and to research it and to find all these stories and to find people having these experiences. The weirdest thing for me with the penny roll mystery is how clustered all of this was, because, you know, we're sitting here talking about like the meat showers and meat falls, you know, UFO sightings, but there's like tons of dogmen sightings.
People disappearing all over the place out there too.
Yeah, tons of disappearances. A lot of that probably is connected to organized crime here. There's some significant connections with this area and something that's called the Bluegrass Conspiracy. There's a book about it by a really famous journalist named Sally Denton, and there was a group of, or an ex-CIA operative named Andrew Thornton, who was working with one of the South American, you know, drug lords, and they were running drugs into Lexington, Kentucky. At UK, and they were like the cops were involved. You know, like all these people in the city government were on the take. It was like this group that was called the Company.
They've been doing that for years. It's just when they catch somebody, they make a big story out of it, right? They made a movie out of the one that got caught, the one that was going through Arkansas and Louisiana with Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
there's always been organized crime in the South, man. People like, how do you think Arkansas got a dog track when the entire state was illegal? They got a dog track and a casino, and the entire state was totally illegal to gamble. How's that happen?
Man, something too that's always struck me as weird about, you know, talk about Arkansas. It is the clustering of all of those banks in those small towns. I remember Jesse Ventura on his conspiracy show did an episode about, you know, there was all these sounds of it was like the number of earthquakes went from, I don't know, it was like, you know, 20 a year to 1,200 earthquakes. And then like a little town with say 2,000 people has 40 banks, you know, per capita.
Banks and gas stations and churches. That's it.
Yeah. Well, and there's that movie. There's the TV show. Ozarks. Yeah. Which kind of touches upon that, but who knows? I always thought that was really strange, though, because obviously Jesse Ventura was arguing that the elites in the world were going to go into underground bases in Arkansas because, you know, when the floodwaters came, they wouldn't be able to go that far inland into the continental U.S.
Well, they actually have some shelters up there in the Ozarks that are massively expensive, but
yeah,
I'm sure they have those in a lot of different mountains. And see, this is how like self-focused I am. Like I took your story, which we should be talking about, this place, and just took it right back to my hometown. You see?
No,
what's up with that?
I love talking about all kinds of weirdness from all over, you know. But yeah, but back, you know, Pulaski County, it's weird. You know, there's some really famous dogman sightings here, Sasquatch sightings. Thomas Shea, I think it's the Northern Bigfoot Society or something. He found, you know, a bunch of Bigfoot prints here. You know, and what I found was that, you know, there's this belief in Fortean phenomena and sort of the whole sphere of high strangeness that places that have ancient earthworks or mounds have this portal activity that's associated with it, right? Because there's all the stories of like the big alien cats.
Oh, dude, we got to get into this, man. Cats. Like we're at the top of the hour. I got to take a break, but we definitely got to get into the big alien cat stuff, man. I mean,
yeah,
this is starting to get real interesting too. We'll open up the phone line shortly too in the second part when we come back at 1-800-588-0335. Nathan Isaac's here with us from the Penny Royal Podcast. Mighty Rohan's here in the background. Join our chat too at fringe.fm/chat room. Join our Discord server. We'll be right back.
This is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on The Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root on the show, and heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new art pal. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, aka the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Have you heard of heavy metals? Yeah! I'm not talking about the heavy metals in the junkyard. I'm talking about the heavy metals that build up in your body. Heavy metals in your body can make you feel sluggish, fatigued, and just plain off. Why not try Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com? Cleansing your body and making you feel great. Cleansing the inside of your body of intruders that sneak their way into you and set up an intruder camp. Life Change Tea helps remove unwanted intruder camps. Brew it, steep it, and drink in the results. Tastes great so you can create a new health habit. Our tea loves to help people. It just needs the chance. So order yours today by logging on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our Life Change Super Strength Tea is waiting. This could be a beautiful relationship. Take charge of your health. Order at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
listening to Joe Rogan and Lighting the Void here on The Fringe FM.
Nathan Isaac, thanks for coming on the program, brother. It's good to have you.
Man, thanks again for having me tonight. This has been great. I'm really enjoying this conversation too, So
the alien space cats, that's what you were talking about before, right?
Yeah.
We gotta get down on that.
So there's a big association with, alien big cats, the ABCs, or people call them, the Black Panthers or Black Cat sightings, right? And they're often associated with ancient earthworks or mounds, right? And there's tons, most famously, it's like the Beast of Broadmoor, in England, and England obviously is an island, and so it's like there aren't any big cats like that. There aren't any big Black Panthers, but in the U.S., there haven't been any black melanistic panthers sighted north of Mexico since like 1923. Right?
What?
No one has found. Let me walk that back. It's not that there haven't been any sightings. They've never found the body of a Black Panther since 1923 north of Mexico, but there are literally tens of thousands of sightings here. In the number one story that I got from people wasn't about UFOs or Bigfoot or anything. Most of the people that I interviewed here in Pulaski County had a Black Panther. They call them painters, with the dialect here, but these Black Panther sightings. And when you dig into the history of this area, there are all of these Adena mounds that stretch from up in the Cincinnati area where the Snake Mound is, all the way down. And there's one in Pulaski County out Highway 39 where the meat showers were sighted, where all these other things were sighted. Tons of Black Panthers have been sighted.
So
and these aren't just like small cats. They're huge, They're
so where do you think's going? I mean, do you think this is just like a series of random events? And by the way, you guys didn't hear Rohan's production. I don't know why y'all didn't hear that, but we'll play it again at the next break. Sorry about that. But we got to hear it. That was cool. But so, man, why do you think all this stuff is happening in this area, though?
I really do think
totally random, or to you, is it like, okay, this can't be just random events?
I think so. There's a few things that I think are causing it. The Black Panther sightings and all that stuff. Some of this stuff, I would chalk it up to the fact that I do think that there probably are some type of relationship. There's some type of relationship between these earthworks and portals. There are lots of historically, when people have researched this stuff in high strangeness, lots of dogmen sightings, lots of UFO sightings, lots of the Black Panther sightings, Sasquatch sightings centered on these areas where these mounds are. So you've got to think, is there something associated with the mounds that's causing whatever the membrane is between worlds to be maybe thinner there, right? So that's sort of a traditional theory that other researchers have talked about. The really unique thing about Pulaski County that I discovered when I started digging into this was that this is, and anyone can look this up. It's crazy because I'm like, what? This can't be. Pulaski County is the center of what NASA refers to as the Kentucky anomaly, which is the largest spike in geomagnetic, field strength in the Western Hemisphere. And they don't know why. They don't know why it's centered here. That's why it's called the Kentucky anomaly. But, when I was researching this, there are three major spots in the U.S., one in the southern part of Alaska, one in Sedona, and then this one that's located here. But this one is the most powerful. It's so powerful that NASA has these surface gravity charts, and the gravity here in Pulaski County, right in the center of where the anomaly is, the strength of the geomagnetic field is so strong that it changes gravity here slightly.
Wow.
And so and all this stuff, I mean, anyone can read about this. It's fascinating. So it's like, is that part of this? Because there's a long history of violence here in Pulaski County, like extreme violence, stuff that you would absolutely not believe,
it could just be like bad energy. Do you believe in that? Like bad energy, or, just bad energy vortexes that happen in certain places, and I mean, yeah. Gordon White talks about this too in some of his courses that he teaches about magic, about how there's certain places carry certain spirits and different types of bad energies and stuff, I don't know. I think there could be some real, he's into animism and stuff too. So I think there could be really something to that, Well,
there's the whole idea of the genius loci, the spirit of place, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that the landscape, contains sort of a spirit. And, that's a big part of Pennyroyal, and that's a big part of the story. That's the tagline of the series is, it's the magic and mystery of place, because that's what I was researching. I was trying to research, how people affect the place they live in, but also how that place affects the people and shapes them. And really the relationship between the two is where folklore emerges, right? And so, I was looking into this idea of the spirit of place, and I do think that certain places, definitely there are clusterings of negative things. Think about this in the Pennyroyal story in episode 7. We talk about, because I found out all this stuff, about the murders. I was working with Dan Dutton, and he was doing. We started working on a film about an opera that he did that was called The Faun, about Pan, right?
Yeah.
And that weirdly intersected with Hellier, and when Greg and Dana and that the whole crew was here for the second season of their show, and when they were here, I didn't realize that all of the connections that they had drawn with Pan, and they even had, when the show came out, I texted Greg and I was like, dude, this is, Dan Dutton, he and I were making this film that ends with a restaging of his opera, The Faun, in, Elkhorn City, which is where Hellier is. It's a suburb of Elkhorn City, to invoke the archetype of Pan, which he thinks he encountered back in 2008 there. And I'm texting Greg and I'm like, dude, what, you did a ritual to Pan here in Somerset. We were traveling to Elkhorn City to do this, restaging this opera to invoke Pan. And he's like, I'm looking at Dan Dutton on my wall right now. We didn't put him in the show because I didn't know how he fit into this story, and like, that was strange, just this independent, weird crisscross of our stories. But then on top of that too, I think, which I want to talk about in just a second, was the Gaterma mystery, of finding out that there was this mine here that was owned by a guy who was literally referred to by the New York Times as Mr. X, right? So then I found that. But the thing I wanted to mention about the spirit of place is that on top of all that, when I didn't think it could get any weirder, we find out that there was an experimental mental health facility called Oakwood that was built here in 1973, right? And it was the premier experimental health facility in America because the Vietnam War was raging. Mental health in America, the industry itself was seen, as a pariah, and this was going to be the flagship that changed how it was viewed. And so they even had Dateline come and do a special on it. Yeah. Right. It was huge, right? And so before the episode could air on Dateline, 6 weeks after this place opens, there's a letter that's sent to the state health commissioner, the head of the state police, the governor, the mayor here, and the sheriff here, alleging, and it's an anonymous letter, and no one knows what the letter says, but the state commissioner for health came here and addressed each point in the letter. So you can kind of guess what they were alleging in this press conference. But what the letter said ultimately was that there was a witch cult that was practicing magic in the tunnels underneath the facility. And they were drawing these circles and holding seances to contact entities. And they were burning symbols into the backs of some of the residents, right?
What?
And I was like, are you kidding me?
That's crazy, man.
That's like like the first season of True Detective when they were, I don't know. Did you ever watch that show on HBO, True Detective?
Yeah, dude, I love True Detective. Yeah.
What was that god they were worshiping? It was like Koskan or Koskar, or I don't know. They were wigged out though. That's what it sounds like is going on.
It was the Yellow King. Yeah,
Yellow King. Yeah. Carcosa. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was Carcosa was the place, right? Yeah, because it's based on the old. It's not Lovecraft, but it is Lovecraft mythos. But it's the guy that made Conan. He also wrote the Yellow King series about Carcosa. So,
creepy stuff, man.
Nathan, I've got a couple of questions from the chat related to this.
Sure.
I was wondering about Night Stalker was wondering about the geography in the area. I was also wondering if you had any theories on the Highway 39 as well. What was the theory of that?
Yeah, so this area, in addition to the Kentucky anomaly, is what's called a karst region, and so it's pockmarked with tons of caves, right? And just this whole subterranean system. And obviously in western Kentucky, about 3 hours west of here, we have Mammoth Cave, right, which is the largest cave system in the world. It connects with the cave system here, which is it's called the Sloan's Valley Cave System, and it's the 13th largest in the United States. Heavily mapped. We have spelunkers and cavers come from all over the world to go into these caves, but there's tons of them. That's a weird added effect, I think, of this area, is that there are so many tunnels. I just think that kicks up the weirdness energy also. But yeah, it's a karst region. There's also a ton of quartz here, which is very similar to Sedona. And, when you have quartz and an intense magnetic field or, geomagnetic field, it creates something that's called the piezoelectric effect, right? Mm-hmm. And I personally have a theory that there's so much violence here because of that. It's affected, like the intensity of the Kentucky anomaly is affecting people's brains. And there have been tons of studies done on this, by universities in Japan, other places, of the effect of intense geomagnetic fields on the brain. But you couple that with the quartz, and it just it creates this perfect storm, Yeah,
it perpetuates itself, because then the quartz that can store memory. So so all of that negativity will get stored and then perpetuate through that and then get stored, and then it's just how much the quartz can handle. Just keep going.
Well, and that's the thing about, we were talking about the, whether a place could be bad or not. The reason I brought up the Oakwood stuff and the witch cult is that, that story of of things happening in tunnels underneath the town and in caves reverberates. There are other stories, from like 50 years prior of another, or not. This wasn't 50 years. This was.
I gotta play you the tunnel sound, dude. If you not heard that sound,
I have not heard the tunnel sound.
All right, so I got to tell you this since you're talking about this. I've played it on the show like 4 times, but it's the creepiest thing I've ever heard. This guy was like testing out flashlights on YouTube, right? And he was just doing regular affiliate marketing stuff. Click my link, buy the flashlight, he gets a commission, etc. And so he was going in these tunnels, and this dude, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to play it for you, man, because this dude got freaked out, and you could tell he's a tough dude. And when you go into a tunnel at night by yourself, in, I don't know, like Australia or wherever you're at, wherever he was at, and you get really deep. You got to be brave anyways. And the noises and sounds he heard, it sounded like they were like demonic noises. And he's like, well, what is that, snakes? And he's like, I don't know what that is, but you can tell it freaked him out. And he just bailed. I'll play it for you though here in a second. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you though.
No, man. I definitely want to hear that. But yeah, like there was another like little hospital that was a mental hospital, infirmary kind of place at the turn of the century, and there were stories of some like witch stuff happening in the tunnels there, right? And then fast forward to even with the Hellier story, the Amy girl that appears on there, and she's telling the story of the subterranean cult that's performing these rituals, and so I wonder with her, was she somehow, or multiple people, are they affected by some type of current, some memory that's stored here in the landscape, in the quartz, maybe even, that's reverberating or transmitting through them, that they're picking up these images or, carrying out these actions, and don't even realize that they're just reverberations of something,
Huh. Interesting stuff, man. It's kind of creepy though to think about. Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's completely creepy. I mean, people burning stuff in the back of people, like that's nuts. Yeah. That's insane.
I'm wondering about if it's like reverberation. What if you like did some kind of incantations and magic and it kind of bounces back at you? I'm thinking of Doctor Strange and the like Mirror World where they practice in there when it's nice and safe, except they, they be trapping themselves, bouncing the magic back.
Here was one of the things we found too, later in the investigation, and I talk about later in the series. There's a massive amount of a number of cult groups in Cincinnati, like a very long history of magic in Cincinnati, warring magicians, right, at the turn of the century. Lots of secret orders, lots of orders of magicians, the Brotherhood of Luxor, lots of spiritualist churches. And so in the 1970s, Cincinnati had like a few hundred witch covens. They even did a bunch of articles about it. And a lot of just regular magicians, OTO members, people that were part of the Typhonian Order, Kenneth Grant's group. Yeah. And so they published, there was a specific group called the Bait Cabal, and they published a really sort of groundbreaking journal of magic called the Cincinnati Journal of Ceremonial Magic. It's very hard to get copies of it. I've obtained the whole collection, right? But it took some time to get, and that's a weird story too. I won't go into that, but what we found out was, because Somerset, right, is called Little Queen City because it's connected to Cincinnati, which is called Queen City, by this railroad. And if you die on the railroad in Somerset, it's reported still as a murder in Cincinnati, right? And so there's this intense connection between Cincinnati and Somerset that's existed since the 1850s, 1860s. And lots of people from Ohio and specifically Cincinnati, they come to Lake Cumberland, this lake that we're on, to vacation. And it's been really intensified in the 70s. But what I found out was this area, this specific area where all these caves are, it's right on the border of the Daniel Boone National Forest. These magicians, this Bait Cabal, were coming down from Cincinnati to Somerset, to Pulaski County, and they were specifically interested in what was called time magic and vortex magic. And this is going to sound really far out, okay, and like totally crazy, but their main tenet was that the woman who formed the group, she was named Nema. Her real name was Maggie Ingalls. she channeled this book that sort of formed the basis of the bait cabal about these old ones, these beings, Lovecraftian sort of beings on the outside, and they would do these time magic rituals to sort of prevent these things from entering our dimension again.
They're messing with stuff they have no idea to like.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
but so they were coming to Pulaski County, and so if you've ever read any of Kenneth Grant's stuff, there's references, also in Peter Levenda's Sinister Forces, there are references to the Cincinnati Vortex. Well, the Cincinnati Vortex is the from Cincinnati down to here and then over through eastern Kentucky. They believe that the Adena opened up this portal to the night side, and it was never shut. And so it's been allowing things like the Mothman and other things to come through this portal. And so once I started researching this stuff and finding that this group was coming here,
by the way, I gotta say, you guys know Kenneth Grant was one of the original members of the Golden Dawn. So he, obviously became an adept and then started his own thing. It's just the same thing Crowley did. Just bastards. Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, Kenneth Grant's it's fascinating. I mean, all these guys were pretty bad guys too, but it is really fascinating. But he talks about Maggie Ingalls or Nema specifically, and their symbol was the bee and the vulture, and but like bees and beehives. So I was interviewing some of these people that lived in that area, and this was before I even found out about the bait cabal. I was just interviewing people for just different stories, and they had mentioned to me that there was this structure called the Beehive that a group had built in the 70s, right when these guys were there, and that it had a telescoping circle in the roof, and it had a big place in the center where they could build a fire, and people could sleep in these cubby holes that went around the walls up to the ceiling, and it formed this sort of beehive structure, and they called it the Beehive, right? And it's still here. It still exists out there on this private property. And people had witnessed groups that were skyclad, that were naked outside in circles performing magic. And so see, that's a thing that's sort of entered the story late into the research, that they're performing this time magic. And when you read the Cincinnati Journal of Ceremonial Magic, they have a lot of that in there, and they talk about these vortexes, time vortexes, and these eddies, right? So some of this stuff, some of these stories, like the Oakwood story, and the weird way that some of these things have lined up with, like when Hellier came through, Pan, Dan Dutton, and his connection to the story. It feels like there are moments of retrocausality or weird synchronicities that are too incredible to. It just makes you think that something has orchestrated this, but it would have to have done it in the 70s or earlier, and which I'm not sure. I'm like, I don't know, but again, it's like, is it something about this place?
Well, it could, it could be that they did. And we got to take a break here too, but it could be that they did, like, I don't know, they did open up portals and stuff, because Crowley did all that too. These guys took what they learned from the Golden Dawn, because I'm a Golden Dawn practitioner. That's why this stuff pisses me off. These guys took what they learned from the Golden Dawn and they went dark. They always leave and go dark because the Golden Dawn bored them, right? It was too spiritual, perhaps too Christian. And then they go out and they start their own things. Like, this guy doing the Cincinnati Journal of Ceremonial Magic, he's getting into stuff like the Book of Mott and the Solar School of Light and Realization, the Night of Pan, which sounds like Crowley, right? The Overture to Death, a systematic approach to one-on-one magic assault. Like, why would you even get into that baneful stuff? Seriously. It's crazy, man.
That's what it is. It's Mayosh and Mayot is the magic that they were performing. Yeah.
You got to hear this, though. Hold on. You got to listen to this, though. This creepy noise in this tunnel. Because you mentioned tunnels earlier. And I think I've played this. This actually ended up on a show once or twice. So I want to make sure that everybody hears it, too. so I don't mess this up. All right, here we go. So this guy's just walking through a tunnel, and he's demonstrating a flashlight.
I don't know if you can hear that on the camera. Do you hear that? It stopped. Well, I don't know what that is. That doesn't sound like wind, but that's crazy. Don't know if that's a bird or... I don't know what that is.
I got to turn it up. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I did.
Hold on.
That is, almost sounds like snakes, but it stopped. Well, I don't know what that is.
That sound like snakes to you?
That's so strange, man. It kind of messes with your ears when you hear it.
Yeah,
you know?
It sounds like someone about to crawl inside your ears, man.
Yeah, yeah, dude. He's deep into that tunnel, and you can tell like when he's explored tons of tunnels on his channel and just kept going. But once he reached that noise and he tried to go a little bit further and it got louder, he just turned around and bolted. You could tell he's scared though, but he's trying to play it off like he's not scared, you know.
And that's the only video of his out of tons and tons of videos where that's happened, right?
Yeah,
like he has, you know what I mean? Because you want to be like, is he? Yeah.
Yeah, because he even says in the video, he said, this video made me famous. He said, but I didn't like plan on this at all. He said, I even asked the guy to come on the show and he wouldn't do it. He's like, no, I'm not a paranormal guy. I don't care about that stuff, you know. It's so crazy. Yeah.
That's really crazy.
But it's like, well, the deeper you get into the earth too, the weird stuff happens, you know. So I'm not surprised that, I mean, these people were like acting like bees and stuff, man. Come on, man. Really? I mean, look, ceremonial magic is weird in itself because there's a lot of symbols and garb and stuff like that. I get it. But people, I really think there's certain type of people that when they get involved with it, it's not dark enough for them. I've met the people too, man. And it's not a spiritual ascension thing for them at all. You know, it's kind of like, what's the darkest thing we can do? That kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's all alien to me because I don't practice any magic. You know, I've researched a ton of this stuff, especially for Pennyroll. But you know, I've never been a part of any ceremonial magic. So in my mind, it's still sort of alien to me.
Yeah, it's taboo,
in terms
right?
of like, yeah. So
well, it's read the Golden Dawn, and you'll see all these cats came from that order, and it wasn't spooky enough for them. Probably too much love involved. And they just said, "Oh, we gotta go find some demons or something," you know.
Yeah.
Love it.
Weird.
This is Rohan's first LTV sound experiment. We'll call it that. Is that what you want to call it, Rohan?
Do me.
That's what it's all about now. That's what it's all about. This consciousness thing. Astral travel. Magic.
Science describes space for it's not the same as released to what something is in the solid. Religion, magic, there's the lens, there's the life. Strengthen her soul, Horace opens her power, Science describes space, it's not least to what something is in the solid.
Astral travel, magic.
Religion, magic, there's the endless in the sphere, there's the innate, the mystery, take the soul and find it new. Let her touch the void, the nothing.
turn back. There's no turn back.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The truth is out there, and so are we. KTLK, Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Want to support Lighting the Void? Just go to lightingthevoid.com, sign up on our membership page, and pick your package where you can get exclusive content, readings, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Also, check out the LTV shop where you can get your very own altar box, t-shirt, shack, hoodie with sigil, Roswell-style t-shirt, racerback tees, socks, long-sleeve shirts, stickers, and beanies. Keep Lighting the Void airing 5 nights a week by going to lightingthevoid.com and support today.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
Lighting the Void and the Esoteric Scholar present the Altar Box, crafted and designed for magicians by magicians. Now you can take your practice with you. This beautifully handcrafted mobile altar opens and works as an altar for any of your spiritual, religious, or ritual practices. Made to travel and work in small spaces, the Altar Box comes with hidden compartments for your practice tools and accessories. The Altar Box also comes with a dark scrying mirror for scrying and reverses and fits perfectly also as a chalkboard for any sigil, symbol, or whatever you see fit to sketch. The Altar Box is handcrafted to carry as a small suitcase, so you may take your practice with you, and the hinges are made with solid material and hinged with leather and rivets for extra strength. The mirror piece and floor plate fit perfectly when closed, so no movement will happen. Use it in small places as well. You can practice meditation, magic, planetary magic, sigil magic, scrying, ritual. Never be without your practice tools again, no matter the setting or where you go. And this season, give the gift of magic for yourself or your loved one by grabbing your Altar Box. Was $249.99, now $199.99. The sale ends January 1st, 2021. Just go to lightingthevoid.com/altarbox and get yours while the sale lasts.
I don't know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I am a void walker.
welcome back to Lighting the Void. Nathan Isaac, our guest tonight from the Penny Royal podcast. Dude, I've heard some weird stories. The only other weirdest story I've ever heard was the guy that was having out-of-body experiences, and he was waking up in the middle of the night crying out to his wife, and he had like mosquitoes and wasps chasing him and stuff. But the dude, you have like tons and tons of, I mean, where do you get all this stuff? And normal paranormal stuff, bro, is like Sasquatch, UFO, hauntings. Like you've dug out all the like the craziest stuff, haven't you? Like the really intense stuff.
There's some crazy stuff, man. After the show came out too, man, I had tons of, people reach out to me too and send me stories. And one of the wildest things too was there's early on when we moved down here, my wife's not into any of this paranormal stuff really, but it was the middle of the day and she came out of the bathroom upstairs and there's a thermostat on the wall, and she sees the thermostat like slide 3 feet over and then like 3 feet down and then bounce back into place with this like wah 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 kind of thing, right?
What?
And so she screams and I run up there and you would think she didn't think paranormal. She thought she was having like a aneurysm or something. And but I checked, look at the wall. I'm like, everything's fine. And I didn't note it, I just thought she'd had some type of perceptual distortion or something, but it wasn't anything physical. But then 3 years later, it happened again at about the same time of year. I wish I knew the exact date because I would have started to watch for that to see if it was some type of cycle. But she sees it again. And I've always thought that was, now that I know about the Kentucky anomaly, I've got lots of other reports of people with spatial and time anomalies here in the area. And I think it's connected to that. But after I'd talked about that on Hellier and I talked about it in the podcast, a guy contacted me he's a researcher too, but it was just really fascinating because he was like talking about the fact that he was having these he was doing astral projections, and when he would do it, he would always pop out of the thermostat on the second floor of this house that he'd never seen. Right. And he heard the show and he was like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's your house.
He could have been popping out of your house. Listen, right. If you ever want to go on an adventure and you got time to listen to audiobooks, listen to Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe. Like the first one, second, and third, and go through that whole thing. It'll trip you out. Consciousness is not what we think it is. I really don't think it's what we think it is at all.
Is that the Monroe Institute, Monroe?
Yeah. His original book that started everything, all of his experiences and his questions. And believe me, he took everything from a scientific, a bias approach the whole time. But he constantly experimented with it. And it's a fascinating text, man.
Man, I've got to tell you this too, which I don't know if you probably didn't get to it in the show, but I think this hits home a pretty big point about all of this is that, I interviewed Pamela, in Penny Roll, and she was the woman who had the experiences with what she said was a cult here in the county, right? And that was pretty amazing story. Probably some of the heaviest stuff that we kind of started to research. And at one point she, we went back to her. Hellier had come out and there was another woman with a similar story to hers, that they had found. And so we went back to her and I said, where Kyle was talking to her that runs the Paranormal Museum. And it's one of the producers on the show. Yeah. And he had asked her, where's this happening at? Because I was like, we got to find out like where she says this is. And she said it was happening at this place called the Mount Victory Mine, right? And, this is Pulaski County. It's pretty far west of, it's central Kentucky, but most of the coal mines are in eastern Kentucky, not in central Kentucky. And I was like, there's no mine here, surely not. And I would ask people, and no one had ever heard of this before. But sure enough, we start digging into this, and we find a New York Times article that says that this guy named Mr. X, that they refer to him as Mr. X, all the newspapers, his real name was Alexander Guterma. And he shows up in 1951 out of nowhere. He comes from the Philippines, but no one knows what his past is. They don't know where he comes from. They don't know if he's Russian. He says he's the son of a Russian general, who fled into China during the Russian Revolution. And then he made his way to the Philippines and was running weapons. He ends up getting picked up in Hawaii at a radio repair shop before Pearl Harbor. And so the OSS, they have records of him. They release him, or they end up sending him to the Japanese, and he escapes from a prison camp, runs guns, opens a casino in the Philippines, and then all of a sudden he ends up in the U.S. with 51, and within 6 months he's one of the richest men in America, and he was the CEO of 28 different companies, and he goes on to perpetuate the largest stock fraud in U.S. history up until 1959, right? Oh. He also gets caught trying to use this Mutual Broadcasting Corporation that he bought to help this dictator Trujillo in the Dominican Republic. He takes money from him, like $750,000, to help overthrow the Dominican Republic. Gets caught for that too. Later, it turns out that he is named as a co-conspirator in the JFK assassination, right? As an associate of de Mohrenschildt. And he owned a casino in Florida called Resorts International that was eventually sold to, guess who? Donald Trump, as his first casino that he ever purchased and ran, right? So they also believe that this... there are these researchers that believe that Guterma was a Nazi intelligence agent and that he was brought to the U.S. through the Galen organization. There was Project Paperclip, but there were these other projects, and one of them was the Galen organization that brought spies over. And so this guy, we find out, in 1975, buys the Mount Victory Coal Company and mine here in Pulaski County and moves his entire financial empire to Somerset, right? And I dig into the mine and who owns it, and it turns out that primarily it's owned by this really infamous attorney named Lester Burns Jr. that they wrote a book about called Dark and Bloody Ground. That's a whole other story. But his business partner was Vice President Spiro Agnew. Okay, so this
is a rabbit hole from hell, bro. Seriously,
right?
Yeah,
right. And so he buys this mine. He's here from 1975 to 1977, and he and his family are flying from Boca Raton, Florida, their winter house, to New York, and they divert to Somerset for some unknown business, and he flies out of Somerset and crashes, and it kills him and his entire family except for one kid that survives, and then he dies in a plane crash 8 years later, right? Which is this weirdness. But it's like, that's the mine that that we're interviewing these people, that they're telling us that there's an international cult, that flies in to Somerset, and they were doing all this like weird stuff in the 60s and 70s. And I'm like, what are, like, I don't actually think there's a cult here, right? But there definitely have been lots of different magical groups.
Yeah,
here.
there definitely was, and magical groups are cults, man.
Right. So, but I don't think that, the running story that I kept encountering was that all the rich people in town and all the doctors and lawyers and politicians and cops were a part of this Wicker Man
miniature
cult,
Bohemian Grove or something.
Yeah, that's not the case, right? But it's strange that she said that place, and then when we looked at that place, we found Guterma, and it's like, here's another person that I'd never heard of him before, but once I'd started researching him, I was like, how is it possible that this guy who's had such a huge impact on U.S. history, I've never heard of him? And also that Vice President Spiro Agnew owned part of this mine. Why would he? And there's a backstory to that that's really fascinating. But it's like, why are these people, especially these people of prominence, being drawn to this place? Why is all of this phenomena being drawn here? You know, and I, you know, I don't know the answer to that. You know, I have my theories about all of it, but it's absolutely fascinating though, because it's like you just keep. The more I dig into this, and I think I can't find anything else, I find more, and it's just amazing. You know?
Yeah, brother. And you talk about all this on your podcast, right? Like shows and shows of it.
Yeah, this is the whole. I mean,
sorry, no, you've connected a heck of a lot of dots, haven't you? So it's interesting to see. You know, it's like extra little bits of the map I haven't seen. You know, it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's it's a big map, you know, and it keeps unfolding. You know, like I said, you know, the second season's coming out, and so that's the continuation of the story, the stuff that I couldn't put in the first season, and it's weirder. It even gets weirder, you know, and that's the thing too about this story is that, you know, I have a friend who's a PhD folklorist, and after she'd listened to the show, she really wanted to talk to me about it because she said, you know, you're approaching this from a folklore standpoint of gathering these stories. She said, but at some point you became a part of the story, and that's a no-no for a folklorist. You know, you've crossed the line of collecting stories. And
why is that a no-no though? I mean,
well, just because you're supposed to just study and collect and observe, but you know, now we've become a part of it. So now we're biased because, you know, we're essentially a part of the narrative. But you know, it's one of those things where I didn't see it going that way. And then the more we engage with this mystery, the more personal it becomes, but also the more weird it becomes. You know,
but I think it's almost like, wouldn't that give you more access though? Because it's like, okay, I see it, be objective and, you know, try and be rational about it. Don't delude yourself. But this is the kind of stuff where you kind of have to participate. Your intention counts and stuff like that. It almost reminds me of that Total Recall film where he's become like a double agent that brainwashed him to think he's something else to get past the psychics, and really he's supposed to be a bad at it, but it then takes on the role of the good guy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
does
man.
Does it anyway. You know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, definitely we couldn't have gotten this far into finding these things without engaging with it that way. I think that's true. You know, once the show came out too, it was like 2 weeks after the show came out, all of these signs started appearing around downtown Somerset that said, "This town is a cult," and it said, "Call the FBI," and had all this like crazy shit in it, and it referenced.
You got the attention of like the local meth head conspiracy people, dude. Well, they just went deep, and then they're like, "All right, man, we got to save this town."
Well, so the signs started appearing, and it wasn't one person. There were at least 3 different people witnessed at least 3 different people putting these up, right? But at one point too, they climbed on top of a house that as you enter the town, and they spray painted this on top of the roof that this town is a cult. Call the FBI. The cyber terrorists have taken over, and it was weird, man. There were a total of I think 7 signs appeared.
Could be true though, man. Like you never know. Seriously though, you never know. Like what's going on. I'm from a small town in Arkansas, and there's some just the local dirty stuff that goes on there between the sheriffs and the judge, and you know, like you don't know how deep stuff goes. Really, like you do.
Yeah.
You know, in history, but you don't know until it's over with, though. Sometimes.
Yeah. I thought that was a weird part of it, though, that those emerged, and that freaked me out a little bit, you know. But overall, everything's been pretty.
I mean, you sure it wasn't people that like listened to your show or saw the Hellier or listened to your show and all the stuff and was just immediately, you know, started doing that, or was it all at the same time?
It was all at the same. Well, it was within like a 2 or 3 day span. I think a week after the first signs, that's when that house got painted. But the people that were seen doing it probably did not listen to the podcast. What was weird though were the other words that were filtered through. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Some of it was jumbled, but they mentioned Lester Burns, and they mentioned like a bunch of people in the podcast that I referenced that came up in the research. They're mentioned in the signs.
So do you think it's one of them synchronicity things, like where focus goes, energy flows? Yeah,
that's what I think. I think
making a breakthrough. You're about to make a breakthrough, so then weird stuff happens in your zone, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that the show came out, and in a sense, we literally broadcast that story, and there were people that were picking up on it, and like I said about the whole reverberations thing, we talk about schizophrenia in the show a bit because there is a lot of research surrounding that, and this idea that someone who has schizophrenia, certain filters are not functioning in their brain that filters out incoming inputs, right? And that gets into a whole host of stuff with like the JFK assassination and the 9 and a lot of other things. Puharich, that research.
Listen, man, you got to, like, we're over time, but you got to come back, man. You got to come back.
Oh yeah, sure. Anytime, man. Anytime. I would love it. This has been a great conversation tonight, too. I mean, thank you guys so much for having me on tonight, because it's been great just talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, man. Like, you got to come back, and I'm going to definitely dive into your podcast, too. pennyroyalpodcast.com is the website you want to go to. Thanks again for coming on, and yeah, man, I hope to talk to you again. And Rohan, thanks for co-hosting. This was a fun one. For sure.
Awesome. That's brilliant. Cheers, guys. Thanks.
All right. Good night, y'all. See you tomorrow night. Seriously, dude, I could listen to you talk about this stuff